A normal day on the tees can be busy, can vary. We're on call for 24 hours a day, so really we've got to try and plan ahead. Obviously, during the pandemic, levels were high and we were classed as key workers. We tried to keep the river flowing so we could keep commodities coming in and out. It was hard. It was very hard. A few lads went down with COVID, but we did our best, done our utmost to keep the river going. Working through the pandemic was an absolute challenge. Nobody knew exactly what to expect. We were all very worried about what we were opening ourselves up to, the dangers, what we could possibly take back home. Sometimes the weather at Middlesbrough obviously can get a bit rough. We work sometimes in quite high tides, quite often in very bad winds. This obviously is a danger in itself to deck crew. We've got to be alert all the time. And sometimes when you're getting tired, it's hard to keep that level of alertness. It's something you learn throughout being there for quite a few years. 14 hours, you can work during a day. It can be quite strenuous and hard. Going through the pandemic, the work definitely increased. We had to keep the river going. We had to keep the commodities coming in and out. As the workload was increasing and increasing, lads were falling foul of COVID, going off, which left us to try and run the river, sometimes using day off men. All of the crew tried their best, done the utmost, kept the river going right through the pandemic and made fantastic profits for Svitzer. We asked for a pay rise of 2.5% in 2020. That was what the workforce had asked for. We didn't think that was unreasonable, the way we'd been working through the pandemic. However, the country, not just the Tees, the country nationally was hit by a 0% pay increase, as Svitzer put it, despite local agreements to negotiate your own rise. Svitzer recorded a record profit of £48 billion that year, which they actually went on to supersede in 2022. Obviously, the pay freeze to our members came as an absolute insult on the back of what we'd put ourselves through. It just shows the corporate greed of Svitzer, putting the shareholders well and truly before the workers and people who keep them going through the pandemic. The pay freeze came at a terrible time. We hadn't had a pay rise since 2019, and obviously bills had started increasing. All we were trying to do was keep up with inflation at the time. We weren't being greedy. We didn't ask for anything astronomical. For Svitzer to try and invoke a blanket pay freeze across the country, for me, was disgusting, and that fed back through the members. When we started balloting for industrial action, the positivity amongst the workforce was superb. Everybody was absolutely wanting to stand up to this bullying from Svitzer, and we got a great response in the ballot. We got 100% yes vote to go ahead and take industrial action. Despite numerous meetings with Svitzer and the meeting with ACAS, we just couldn't get anywhere. Svitzer were flatly refusing to even talk to discuss this offer. We were left with literally no option. To go ahead with dispute was the only thing we could do to try and get them back to the table to resolve the matter. 1st and 2nd of March was the first 2 days of the strike action. The first day of strike action was quite nerve-wracking. Obviously, it's the last resort for any workforce to go through a strike, but we had to do it. We had no option. The feeling amongst the workforce was nerves at first. As the day grew, we got a big sense of camaraderie. The lads wanted to stick together, see it through and prove a point. And then we went on to put some more strike dates in for the 1st and 2nd of March. Again, as the strike went on, the feeling amongst the lads was just stronger and stronger. The camaraderie grew and we were all in it together. Got to the point where on the 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th, we were going to strike for 4 days, which would have basically left the port absolutely bare bones, down to 2 boats. Svitzer would not have been able to fulfil the contract and look after the river. Perhaps that was the straw that broke the camel's back. On the 1st of March, we actually done a leaflet drop at the local football team, Middlesbrough. We got some great feedback from fans going in. I think they understood our plight, that to be offered a 0% pay rise on the back of what was going on was disgusting, really. It highlighted the cause, and along with a little bit of TV coverage we got, it made people in the area aware. It definitely opened people's eyes. On the picket line, it's a reasonably quiet road. We do get a lot of work vans going past at times. Quite a few gave the support by honking the horn, thumbs up. And we were also joined by Unite members from different trade groups. Again, the community spirit was great. Definitely added to the lads' positivity on the picket line. We all knew if we stuck together and we stood as one unit that we would definitely have an effect on Svitzer, an adverse effect. If it was pushing them to missing ships, they would incur penalties. And really, this financial loss was the only way of making them hear what we had to say and getting them back around the table. I understand that delaying a ship can be quite bad monetary-wise. It could cost Svitzer up to £30,000, I believe. Obviously, the more ships they miss or the more ships that they delay, the bigger financial cost. It seemed to make sense to get around the table and resolve the matter rather than keep inflicting these monetary losses. A small delegation of us went over to Copenhagen to attend the Maersk AGM on the 15th of March. For such a relatively small dispute by numbers of people, to be able to go to Copenhagen and take the argument to their backyard, I believe was huge. We actually seen the head of Maersk go in. He had to walk past us giving flyers out. So taking the argument away from the region and, like I say, putting it right in Maersk's back garden, I believe was a great factor in what we achieved. Having access to Svitzer and Maersk's account and finances, knowing where the money's coming in, knowing where the money's going out, so it's invaluable. It gives you a huge leverage to argue your point and makes it easy to support your argument that they are able to actually give you a pay rise. We had 4 days strike planned, which Svitzer knew that would bring the port to its knees. That was when we were approached and offered the pay rise. In real term figures, the pay rise, along with the additions we achieved, amounts to, I believe, around 7%, which was as good as we wanted, and we were quite happy with that. On hearing the news of the proposed pay rise, the members were really pleased. From going from nothing to what we actually got offered was a big win for us, we believe, and the members were eager to accept it. I believe that the 4 days strike that we had planned was definitely a huge factor to Svitzer coming forward with a pay offer. We all stood firm, and I believe it proved the point. My advice to anybody who's going through a similar problem we had, you've got to stay strong. It's nerve-wracking, the prospect of strike, but it's a last resort. We were under no illusion it is a last resort, but staying strong, staying together, and standing as one definitely puts you in a better position to try and get the pay rise you should get. The more support the reps across the country can get from Unite is invaluable. The finances of the company you work for, everything that Unite can provide, the more they can provide, only adds weight to your argument. We did have a couple of members who were getting a little bit nervous in the early stages. Obviously, Svitzer are a huge company linked to Maersk, which are even bigger. The only thing I can advise is keep together, keep strong. Make sure if anybody is wavering, get behind them and help them get to the position where they should be to stay together. By standing together and standing strong, the pay rise we achieved, the 7%, really, I think, should set the benchmark. We've got a lot of other companies, a lot of other lads and lasses in the same position as us where they feel the only option is to go on strike. Hopefully, our fight has showed people that by standing together and being one, you can win these big companies.